So we're going to talk right now in this session about how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. But this is really a fun topic, right? We all want more sales, we all want more leads, and we all want more profitability in our company. And so really this presentation, and the reason I named it How to Get Your Internet Marketing Right, because you guys are all doing internet marketing at some level, I'm sure. This isn't a new thing. It's not, wow, I should be thinking about internet. You've tried Yellow Pages, you've tried Reach Local, you've done SEO on your own, and maybe you're having great success, maybe you're not having the results that you really want. And so really that's what this presentation is all about, how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And I want to encourage you that this presentation is going to be based on real world examples and case studies. So this isn't going to be hypothetical. I'm going to share real companies that have been able to double, triple, and 10x their sales by following some of the strategies and techniques that I'm going to outline throughout the course of the presentation. The other thing I want to really get you excited about is that this is a workshop style presentation. So this isn't going to be a session where I just talk from the front and you kind of fall asleep at your seats. I want this to be a session where we're going through the worksheet together, you're looking at your business and your online marketing strategy as it sits today, and you're identifying gaps and you identify areas for improvement. And so that's what I've got planned. I'm really excited about it. If you guys engage with me, I think you'll be able to walk away from this session with a lot of insights and a lot of actionable ideas that you can go back and implement. Does that sound good? You guys with me on that? Awesome. So I want to start by talking about the Plumbing Doctor. Plumbing Doctor is a plumbing company based in Falls Church, Virginia. Been in business for over 20 years. The owner, Dr. Bill, started the company and built it up to about $1 million per year in revenue. So not huge, not small, but a solid business. And he built the business really mostly by advertising the Yellow Pages. He had a double truck ad in his local Yellow Page, and it was enough to keep those 7 to 10 guys busy kind of all throughout the day. It was very effective. But somewhere around mid-2000, he started to notice a decline in the lead flow and the new customers that he was getting from the Yellow Pages. And that presented a challenge because his daughter also started working in the company. Her name is Tracy, and he wanted to make sure that he had a business that was on the incline and not the decline as she started to take over the business and be the second generation behind the company. And so it really led to the question of where did the customers go? Where were the customers looking if they were no longer looking in the Yellow Pages? And what they found, and probably what you guys have found, is for the most part, they're going to the internet. They're going to Google, they're going to Yahoo, they're going to Bing, they're going to Angie's List. And that's kind of the initial point that they're looking when they need your plumbing and HVAC services. Would you guys agree that's pretty much true in this room? Awesome. And so statistics tell us, and there's all kinds of different reports out there on this, but one report says it's almost 97% of customers, when they're looking for a brand new plumbing or HVAC provider, that's their initial place that they look, is the internet. And so with that being the case, Dr. Bill realized he needed to make sure he had an aggressive internet marketing strategy. He needed to have a plan to make sure he was connecting with the customers where they were looking. And so his first line of attack was Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages had served him really well over the years. They had helped him build his business to that $1 million mark and a little bit above. And so when they came in and said, hey, we'll do your internet marketing for you. We can set up a website and get you online. That was the first thing that he did. And so they did just that. They built his website and they got him on yp.com. And after several months, he wasn't getting much. He wasn't getting much growth. He wasn't getting many calls and leads. And part of the problem with the strategy that he got initially in that case was they set him up with a very basic templatized website. So it was a basic 5-page site, home, about us, our services, contact us. Didn't really have anything unique about him, his company, why somebody should choose him versus the competition. And it really didn't rank on Google and Yahoo and Bing where customers were actually looking. So that wasn't going to cut it. So we went back to the drawing board and started researching, started to look at what other options were there. And one of the large pay-per-click management companies came in with a really great technology. They said, look, we'll get you in the paid listings on the search engines. We're going to put tracking in place so we can track your calls, and it's just going to be gangbusters. And this actually had an impact. He started to get more calls, but what happened was he would get just enough calls to cover the investment. So if he spent $3,000 in pay-per-click, he got about $5,000 worth of revenue, which really isn't enough to justify the expense, and it certainly isn't enough to replace the leads and opportunity that the Yellow Pages used to produce for him. And so the problem with this strategy was they did get him showing up in Google and Yahoo and Bing in more places, which was great, but they were still working off a templatized website. Didn't have any unique content, didn't have any unique messaging that made somebody want to choose them, Dr. Bill that is, versus the competition. And while it was showing up in the paid listings, which you guys are all familiar with the difference between the paid listings and the organic listings? Yeah? You know, the paid listings are up here and along the side. The map listings and organic listings, you can't pay for placement. And so he wasn't ranking in that area because his website really wasn't optimized for search. And so that was really the challenge there. It wasn't really tapping into the full potential of online marketing. And so what did he need to do? What was really necessary in order to help him get things right? And it was really a function of setting up a unique website with good content, making sure that it was ranking well in search in the organic listings. And we're going to dive into this throughout the remainder of today's presentation. But you know, just simple things like having video of him and actual authenticity, pictures of his trucks, pictures of his team, and messaging that made the customer want to choose him versus the competition, and starting to make sure he had a dominant presence in search, both in the paid listings and the organic listings. So when we search Falls Church Plumber, Falls Church Plumbing, Falls Church Emergency Plumbing, ranking in the paid listings, the organic listings, and the map listings. And what happened as he started to get his internet marketing strategy right was he was able to see the traffic to his website increase from about 250 visitors per month to over 733 visitors. Now, if we equate that to calls, which is what really matters, is he was able to generate initially about 24 calls a month via the web, and then see that increase to 88 calls per month, just on the organic side of the equation, not really even looking at paid online marketing. So that, in and of itself, is a 3-time increase in leads, increase in sales, and increase in profitability in their business. And that's really what I want to unpack throughout the rest of this presentation, is how you can make sure that you've got a comprehensive strategy that's really ranking in all of the areas that you want to rank and helping to drive more leads and more calls. And so what it meant for Dr. Bill was he was able to get out of that $1 million rut and get to about the $2 million mark. And he was able to really feel confident he had a steady flow of leads so that as he moves on, he has an asset to hand down to his daughter Tracy. And I think that's really what we probably all want. We want to build a highly successful, highly profitable company. And listen, I know some of you may be much larger than that, but the strategies still remain the same. So now, let's apply this to your business. Let's get out of hypothetical mode and let's get into real nitty-gritty. Did we pass out the worksheets? Do you guys all have a worksheet? Can somebody hand me one, actually? So to get your internet marketing right, it should be the second page in the packet that you have. And I've done a lot of these presentations, and what I found was you guys, I would have your eyeballs for about the first 10 minutes. And then after that, you'd kind of glaze off and you'd lose attention. And so using a worksheet will help keep us all focused, because the last thing I want for us to happen here is for this session to end and you go back to the office, you're like, yeah, he talked about some interesting stuff, but I don't remember what to do next. I really want you guys to stick with the plan and be able to walk away from here with some real actionable next steps. Anybody else? Everybody's got a pen, everybody's got the worksheet. Looks like it. Awesome. So the first question on the worksheet is really basic, right? Is do you have a website? And if you're in this session, if you run a plumbing company or an HVAC company, I would imagine you have a website. So the good news is you have something that you can say, yeah, we've got that well under control, and just check that off. That's a win. The next question, though, takes a little more thought, and that's, is your website ranking on Google and Yahoo and Bing when people are searching for you? And so in order to answer that, it's going to take a little bit of research and a little bit of thought. You have to think first about what are the customers in your market typing in when they need your services, and then you have to go to search and figure out where you rank. And so what we did, okay, so just to be clear, I'm not talking about in the paid listings in this case. I'm talking about, are you ranking in this area? Are you ranking in the map and in the organic section for your most important keywords? And we've done a lot of due diligence along these lines. We work with several hundred plumbing and HVAC companies throughout the United States, and we've been able to really figure out what the most commonly searched plumbing and HVAC related keywords are. And so I'm not going to read these off, but it's a lot more dynamic than just plumber and plumbing. It's plumber, plumbing, emergency plumber, drain cleaning, water heater installation, water heater repair, backflow testing, bathroom remodeling. Just think about the services that you offer, and that's really the keywords. And if you want to download this, you can go to plumberseo.net/plumbing keywords.
Does that apply the other way around?
Yeah.
Like plumbing your city?
Yes. It's pretty interchangeable. You know, you could say plumber Falls Church or plumber Miami. It goes both directions. And the same for HVAC, right? They're typing AC repair, heating repair, furnace repair. So you really want to think about those keywords, combine them with your geo modifier, which is the main city that you're in and the surrounding cities that you're in, and determine if you're ranking in search for those keywords. And so that's really the first piece of this worksheet, and I know you guys probably can't confidently answer that as we sit here today, but when you get back to the office, spend a little time. Combine your cities with your keywords, and then run some searches on Google and Yahoo and Bing and see where you sit. And if you want some help with this is something we'll do for you completely free of charge. We know what the keywords are, we'll combine it with your cities, and we'll run a report that will show you exactly where you sit today. The real exciting part about that is, if you do run those searches and you're not ranking, that means there's untapped opportunity, right? That means there's people looking for you and what you do, and you're not showing up yet. And so if you start to apply the rest of the strategies we're going to talk about throughout the rest of this session, you'll be pretty excited to know there's more calls and more leads just around the corner. So that's the first thing. Figure out where you search right now for your most important keywords. The next question on that sheet is your website properly optimized for search? And this is a confusing question, right? Who knows? Some of you are probably pretty well versed on search engine optimization, which is the process of getting your website to show up in the search engines. Some of you probably don't know anything about it. And there are extensive encyclopedias on this topic of search engine optimization. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes talking about the 20% of SEO for your local plumbing or HVAC business that you need to know, and the 5 things that you can look at to quickly determine, yes, my website is properly optimized, or no, I need to go in and make some changes and make some tweaks. So the first is just your tagging. You got a question, sir?
Yeah. What page are you talking about? If you type in that word, contractor sitting here in the room, and go on pages, I just did mine.
Okay.
Are you talking about the first page, second page, third page, or further back?
Well, you ideally you want to rank on the first page in the top 10 results.
Do you want to, but it's going to cost you?
Not necessarily. So if we go back, and so I'm glad you asked this. So this right here is the search result, and it's changed a little bit. Now there's only 3 results under the map. There's the paid listings. That you have to pay for. No way around it, right? It's a bidding process, and I'll talk more about pay-per-click and paid advertising as we go. But yes, this you have to pay for. These listings right here, the map listings and the organic listings, it's all based on the content on your website. It's based on how many links you have. It's based on how authoritative Google thinks that you are. And so if you optimize your website correctly, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this session, you can move yourself from page 4, page 5 to page 2, all the way to page 1. And so to feel confident and check that box and say, yeah, we're doing pretty well, you want to be ranking on page 1 in the top 10 results for a lot of your keywords. Does that answer your question along those lines? Clarify. Okay, good. I'm glad you asked, because that gave us an opportunity to dive into that a little bit more. Let's get back to where we were. So how do you optimize your website for search? And there's really, on any page of your website, there's a lot of elements, but there's 3 critical elements you want to look at. That's your title tag, which you'll usually see up here in this top bar, your H1 tag, and then your content. And all other things being equal, your home page you want your keyword, which is going to be your city plumber or your city AC repair, in the title tag. It doesn't have to be the very first thing. The algorithm's always changing, but you do want it on the title tag somewhere as opposed to just your company name. Because what's pretty common is you'll just see Bill's Plumbing Company. Well, that's not telling Google that you're a Miami Plumbing Company. So you want to see Miami Plumbing Company up there in your H1 tag, and you want to reference it on the content in your site. So if you don't have that on your homepage, and all you did was go back and change those very basic things, you'll see a dramatic difference in where you're probably ranking for that particular keyword. The second is you typically are going to need to build out your website. Typically, as we see plumbing and HVAC companies, they've got that basic home, about us, our services, contact us on their site. And what we found, just looking at that keyword list we talked about, there's a lot of keywords that your customers are typing when they need your services. They're typing drain cleaning and boiler installation and repair. And so if you want to rank for all of those different keywords, you need a page on the site for each. So if you want to rank for garbage disposal repair in your market, you need a garbage disposal repair page with good content about garbage disposal repair and why you're the company to come out and repair the garbage disposal. And for each one of the services that you really want to eventually rank for. Does that make sense? Beyond that, you also want to have sub-city pages. Find most plumbing and HVAC companies serve between a 25 and 50 mile radius. So they're in an anchor market, but there's lots of little cities and little towns in and around that area. So if you want to rank in those sub-cities and sub-towns, you really need to have pages for those sub-cities with unique content. And the caveat here is it used to be pretty simple, right? If you had 20 cities, you set up 20 city pages, and you just changed the city modifier somewhere in the title tag and the H1 tag, and all the rest of the content was the same. Well, with the latest changes in the Google algorithm, that's actually problematic, and it can create ranking issues on your website. So what you want to do there is make sure that you've written unique content for each one of the cities that you have as pages on your site. So without going super duper technical, you also want to have each one of those city and service pages with your title tag, H1 tag, and content referencing those particular keywords. So on that front, you want to go back to the website when you get home, pull up your website and see, do you have pages for the cities? Do you have pages for the different services that you offer? And are your keywords in the right place? They're in the title tag, the H1 tag, and the content. Any questions on that before we press forward? Awesome. So that's what you want to do there. Make sure that you're properly optimized. And this is kind of step one, because if you don't have the pages, there's no way you're going to rank in search. That doesn't mean just because you have the pages you're going to rank. There's a lot more to it, and that's where we're headed next. So the next thing, go ahead.
You're saying if in the basic terms, if your website is more comprehensive, if you're going to rank higher?
More comprehensive just for the sake of being more comprehensive, not necessarily. More comprehensive in that you have pages for the different services that you offer. Now Google says, okay, I'm looking for a Miami drain cleaning company, and you've got a page on your website that specifically speaks to that. Now you've got at least indexation or the possibility to show up in search for that term.
Do they also evaluate the fact that you update it on an occasional basis?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm going to talk about having a proactive, ongoing content development strategy for your website and how that's going to build your authority and your rankings. Yeah, Google wants to find pages that are relevant, that are up to date, and that are active. So the next thing I want you to think about on your worksheet is your website properly optimized for conversion? And this isn't just an SEO conversation. The fact is you can have the best website rankings in the world. You can rank for all your keywords. You could be spending tens of thousands of dollars in pay-per-click advertising and potentially not getting the ROI that you should. And that would be a function of, frankly, not having good conversion. And conversion is when somebody gets to your website, do they take the action that you want them to take? And in this case, we want them to pick up the phone and call to schedule service or to fill out a web form so that somebody in your team can follow up. And there's little things you can do that will have a big impact on conversion from visitor to caller. And I'll just share some of the basics. One of the most basic things is to make sure you have your phone number somewhere in the header on your website. So don't bury your phone number on the Contact Us page or down only in the content body of your site. Make sure on any page of your site, the customer can look up and find your phone number and dial it quickly. Simple, basic, but it gets missed in a lot of plumbing and HVAC company websites that I've seen. The next is have a simple web submission form, either on the sidebar in the Contact Us section of the site, a place where they can enter their name, their details, their contact information, and quickly be able to get in contact with you. Because not everybody's in a place where they can pick up the phone. They might be at the office, right, and they can't pick up the phone right there, but they're looking for someone to come out and install the kitchen sink or do whatever they're going to do. So make that available to them. The other really easy thing that you can do to maximize conversion is to incorporate some personality into the site. So I see so many plumbing and HVAC websites where it's very generic. They've got stock photography and nothing really resonates, nothing that is unique to the company. So having a real picture of yourself, the owner of the company, a picture of the team, a picture of your trucks, the more of that type of personality you can infuse into the site, it makes it so that the prospect, once they get there, has something they connect with, right? They're only going to want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so they're not going to know you, but at least they can feel like they know you if you have that type of multimedia on your website. So it's an easy change. Leverage the trust symbols that you're a part of. You know, the big apprehension that your customer has when they get to your site is, can I trust this person? Are they going to come out and take care of my home? Are they going to show up on time? Are they going to treat me fairly, or are they going to try and rip me off? And so showing your trust symbols, your Angie's List Super Service Award, your affiliation with the BBB, the fact that you're a member of a local chamber of commerce, all of those things, even if it's just subconscious, make them feel like, okay, this is the kind of company that's quality and they're trustworthy. So leverage those trust symbols. And the most important is to leverage social proof, right? They're unsure whether they can trust you. And to the extent that you have reviews and testimonials and feedback from your real customers in your true service area, they can feel like you're a quality company. So make sure somewhere above the fold on your website, you're showing, look at all the reviews that we have from our happy customers across the web. And there's all kinds of great tools to help you with this. Guys from Review Buzz are here. That's a great tool for showcasing your reviews. Bird Eye is a great tool. There's all kinds of tools that will help you with this. So make sure you have a platform to showcase the positive reviews, and that will help with conversion. And last but not least, in terms of conversion, make sure that your website is mobile optimized. We know more and more people are getting to your website in search of plumbing and HVAC services from their mobile phones. Our analytics tell us it's increased from about 30% to about 35% in the last year of people actually getting to the website from their mobile phone. And a report from Google says that 40% of mobile consumers turn to a competitor site after a bad mobile experience. So all that means is they were looking for plumbing services or whatever. They got to a website and it wasn't optimized for mobile. So in other words, you would have to pinch the screen, you couldn't push the button to call the office, and that's a miss. 40% of customers that get to those types of sites leave. So make sure, and I'm sure a lot of you have this, but if you don't, this is extremely critical, make sure that your website fits in the standard iPhone, iPad screens, and that there's an easy button somewhere on the site where they can just click it and call into your office. Because there's nothing more annoying when you need a service and you're on a mobile site, but you can't click the button to call. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to write it down on a scratch pad and then type it into your phone. That's where that 40% comes into play. So that's conversion. And there's other things we can talk about, but seriously, if you just do these simple things, have the personality, have compelling calls to actions, put your phone numbers in the intelligent places, have a web form, your conversion rate will increase. And for the same 500 or so visitors to your website, you could potentially get 100 calls as opposed to 50, right? So just little tweaks like this can have a major impact. Any questions on conversion before we go to the next section? I want to make sure we make this interactive as possible if you have questions.
You talked about the being able to call you from the mobile device right there in the button. Is that sort of like if that gets created, a button, call us?
Yep.
Something of that nature?
So most of the
They'll hit on the phone
Yeah, most of the mobile platforms now, whether you've got a mobile responsive site or a mobile redirected site, they have a function where you can just click it and it will call. And so just get with your web development company and make sure they have a click to call function on the site for you. Good question. So the next piece of our worksheet now is, are you building links and authority for your website? Now the sad reality is, even if you did everything I talked about to this point, you set up your website, you create pages for each of your services, you create pages for each of your city, it's all unique, it's all properly optimized. That doesn't mean that any of those pages are going to rank on page 1. Doesn't mean they're going to rank even in the top 5 pages. Because there's lots of other plumbing companies that are playing this game, that are trying to be authoritative, that are trying to rank. So what you have to do is you have to be more authoritative and tell Google, yes, my page is more relevant and it's more authoritative than the competition. And the way you do that is by putting out fresh, unique, relevant content to what you do, and by building links and by building authority for your company. So there's a lot of ways to build links. This has really changed in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, it was just about whoever had the most links could win. Right? You could have links from anywhere. You could have links from China, you could have links from Istanbul, and if you had more links than the competition, you would outrank. But now, Google actually changed the algorithm and they started to catch on to that because they don't want people to game the system. And if you had those bad links, you probably saw a major decline in your rankings where you might have been on page 1 and now you can't be found anywhere. So if that's the case, you need to spend some time probably cleaning up your links and removing some of the bad links that you got. But to be strategic about this, you want to make sure that the links that you get to your website are relevant and they're localized. And so I don't want to spend a ton of time, but I want to give you some actionable ideas on the types of links that you could potentially get. You guys are all members of PHCC here at the PHCC Connect, ideally. They have local and national chapters. Typically, you can have your company added to that, either by adding yourself to the local directory, the national directory, or submitting an article that the PHCC would find interesting. They post that, and now you've got a link pointed back to your website. Being on the major online directories, City Search, Angie's List, Best of the Web, they're not follow links, but those are links that will build your authority. Again, there's lots of cool things, right? If you're members of the Chamber of Commerce, if you've got a Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus profile, those create relevancy and links. You've got a buying group that you buy from. If you buy a lot from Moen, if you buy a lot from American Standard or from your supply house. Again, it's not easy as just pushing a button and getting links, but if you create interesting content, if you add yourself to their directories, all of that brings a web of links back to your websites. And your links are what tell Google that you're an authoritative organization. And there's more to it, right? You want to make sure that your website has the right on-page factors. And we talked about this. If somebody gets to your website and hits the back button, Google's looking at that. They say, okay, that must not be a very relevant web page, and they're going to reduce your potential ranking score. However, if they get there, they scroll down a little bit, they play a video, they click to a subsequent page, that shows more on-page interaction, and that really, all other things being equal, is the main thing Google's looking at right now. It's called user experience optimization. And so some of the things we talked about in terms of conversion optimization really have a play in that. And you need to be putting out fresh, relevant content. Right? I know none of you want to be bloggers and you don't want to be authors, but the fact is, you are subject matter experts. You know more about water heaters and plumbing technology and HVAC technology than anybody. And so just creating unique content about the difference between tanked and tankless water heaters, why somebody would want to go trenchless versus trenched, right? Just create some information about that and post it, and that Google picks up and says, okay, this is a relevant authority in this particular topic. Does that make sense? Cool. And so you really want to step back on this particular topic and ask, do you have somebody that's thinking about this on your behalf on a consistent basis? Is there somebody on your team that's tasked with this? Are they building links? Are they looking for opportunities to drive more links back to your website? Are they creating fresh, relevant content on your behalf, or are you doing that yourself? And if not, this is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle in terms of moving the needle for your rankings. You have to be creating content. You have to be creating authority. So moving from there, the big question I get from companies all the time is, how do I get ranked in the map in my market? What's the secret sauce, right? If I type in my city plumber, my city AC repair, there's a map that comes up. How do I rank in that section? And there's really only 3 critical steps that go into making this happen. The first is having a claimed Google My Business listing. Used to be Google Places, used to be all kinds of other things, but now it's Google My Business, and you just go to google.com/business, and there you're able to claim a profile. I would imagine most of you have a claimed profile either on your own, somebody in your company, or an outside provider. But it's pretty important that you know what your Google My Business username and password is so you can look at it and make sure that everything is on the up and up. You want your company name just to list your company name, no additional keywords. You want to make sure that you're listed in the right categories, that it shows the correct hours of operation. These are little things that have a big impact in terms of your Google Maps optimization. So that's step 1, having a claimed and optimized Google My Business listing. The second, and that's going to be hard for you guys to see, is having lots of citations or web references of your company's name, address, and phone number. And so you get a citation by being in the major online directories, by being on Angie's List and City Search and Yelp.com and Judy's Book. And you guys, these are all directories that you've heard of. But if Google's trying to decide whether company 1 should be in spot A or company 2 should be in spot A, they have to base that on something. And so they base it on how often is that company being referenced in other directories across the web, and more importantly, are they being referenced with consistency? So is it the same name, address, and phone number listed on Angie's List as Judy's Book, as Best Plumbers, as all of these different places? And to the extent that that's incorrect, and it's a different number here and a different number there and a different company name there, you're not going to be given the same authority that you would. That's kind of an abstract thing, but is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay.
I got a question on that.
Sure.
We use a lot of tracking numbers.
Okay.
So we have the same name and address, but the phone number is different a lot. Does that take away?
We found that can create a challenge, and I'm all for tracking. I love to be able to track and quantify how many calls are coming via the web. We tend to caution against using a different number in each of these different directories, because just for that same reason, Google says, I'm looking up this exact name, address, phone number, and they're not finding it the same way. So I've actually had cases where we were able to go into companies and clean up their name, address, phone number profile and see them go from not ranked on the map to a top 3 position. So
what about when you're using a bunch of different tracking numbers for different types of advertising as well?
Yeah. I think you have to weigh the pros and the cons, right? The pros are you can really see how many calls and how many leads and what the profitability for a lead source is. And that's great for print, it's great for radio, it's great for TV, it's great for actually even your website. But if it's going to hamper your ability to rank in the Google map, which is probably the #1 place your customers are looking for your services, then is it really worth it to dilute your consistency in order to have a little bit more granular tracking? If that makes sense. So I would suggest go back in and change it to all a main web-based tracking number and use that 1 on all of the major online directories to really pass this stink test. There are ways around it. I've seen companies that do have random numbers and they still rank on the Google map, and it's because they have enough citations and they have enough reviews. Because reviews in a lot of cases can counterbalance even a little bit of inconsistency. I think you had a question back there.
Yeah, before I went to work for our company, we had 3 DBAs, and they're all out there on the internet.
Yeah.
I can find them all. But
Yeah.
one of them even has my cell number on it.
Oh my. Jeez.
How do you find them?
So there are tools that will help. The easiest way is just to search. Just search yourself and see where you're at. One of the tools we use that I'm a big fan of is called Moz Local. That's one of the tools where you can type in your company name, address, and phone number, and it will scour the web and help you find inconsistencies. And moz.com/local, LOCAL. But I would say there's really no push button system that will actually cover all of the bases for that for you. So there's Moz Local, there's Yext, there's tools like that are actually pretty cool. But the fact is, you need to have a manual approach to this as well, where somebody that's really looking at your directory, logs in with a real username and password, makes the updates, uploads the pictures, or requests to have listings merged, etc. But those tools will help you find them so that they can be addressed.
I have a question, and it kind of goes back to what you said about the tracking numbers, but these salespeople for Haibu and Yodel and all these people, they get upset with me when I won't let them change my phone number. So how do you know if this is working?
Right. So there's, like I said, I'm a big fan of call tracking. There's a right way to do it, and there's a potentially problematic way to do it. The potentially problematic way to do it is to put their tracking number on the actual directory. So one tracking number for Angie's List, one tracking number for Yelp, one tracking number for Front Porch, for Porch.com, etc. That's very dangerous in terms of the consistency of your name, address, phone number. However, there's great technology now where when somebody gets to your website, whether they came through paid or whether they came from organic, whether they just typed in your company name, where the number can swap based on the source. So then you can still track. I mean, you're not going to be able to track at the per directory level, but you will say this is how many SEO calls we got, and here are the recordings. This is how many pay-per-click calls we got, and here are the recordings. So it's a fine line. I'm not going to say throw away the baby with the bathwater, right? Just because it's dangerous, that doesn't mean you don't want to be able to track it all. So, but good question. Oh, I missed one of my key elements. So then the third critical element is online reviews. And this you're going to find going forward is really the most critical factor for being ranked well in the Google Maps. The companies that have the most reviews, authentic reviews, real reviews from real customers in your true service area are going to be the most authoritative and wind up ranking best on the Google Map. So you want to make sure you have a systematic approach to getting online reviews, because online reviews aren't just going to happen. Well, they happen a little bit, but not enough to really get some velocity behind it. If you're just going to provide great service and hope that the customer follows the next step and writes you a review, it's like going to be 1 in 1,000 service calls. But if you send an email out after every service call that says, hey, thanks so much for your business, we appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and would love it if you take us a minute to write a review for us, and then you give them direct links from that email to the public places where they can write that review, Google, Yelp, Angie's List. Think about it. If you're doing 20 service calls a day, I talked to somebody yesterday who's doing 500 service calls a day. If you're doing that much volume, you're going to get more online reviews. And when you have more online reviews, you're going to position yourself as the expert, and you're really going to rank well in the Google Map listings. So, not trying to get too technical on you about Google Maps, but does that make sense? Awesome. And again, there's great tools that do this. Right? One of the tools we found to work great is Nearby Now, having your technicians check it in the field and then request a review right from their mobile device. There's tools like Review Buzz, which is an industry partner here. They've got a great tool to help with this. So, I'm not really concerned that much about the tool that you use. I'm more concerned about the fact that you're using something on a consistent basis, and it's a systematic part of your company. After every service call, a request for a review goes out, and when you do that, you're going to see a lot more reviews, and you're going to be able to rank much better in the Google Map listings. So, yes?
Liking you on Facebook or
It's not a review. It's a social signal. It doesn't hurt. It's helpful. But that's not going to help your Google Map listings. That's not a review for your company.
We have a lot of people do that, like you already talked about.
Yep.
But the biggest thing that comes back is they charge too much.
Okay.
They feel as though the service is great, data is great, fix the problem, but they pay too much.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you got to say to that?
I mean, that's going to happen, right? If you're doing hundreds of service calls a month, there's going to be some portion of your customer base that feels like you charge too much. The fact that you have a couple 3-star reviews or 2-star reviews from people that are disgruntled about your pricing doesn't hurt your rankings. As a matter of fact, it's going to help your rankings because it's more authentic, right? If all your reviews are 5-star reviews saying what an awesome company you are, that's not going to pass the stink test. But if you've got 100 reviews and 90 of them are, wow, this is a cool company, 4- and 5-star type reviews, and 10% are saying things like what you just said, that seems real, and it's going to be better for your search rankings. It's also better for the customer experience because everybody knows that nobody's perfect. Now, what you need to make sure you do with those negative reviews is that you're aware of them and that there's a public response in a professional way that addresses that review.
We're talking the $69 service call.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
$69 service call.
That's obviously a customer that's, disconnected from reality, and it's going to be 10% of pretty much any customer base. It's just a fact in reality. So there's only one thing you can do, or two things you can do. One thing is to say, oh, I'm going to have people say bad things about me, so I'm not going to request reviews at all.
Because there's no way on those reviews that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
we as a contractor, we cannot respond back on home properties can,
Yep.
but not on the Google, Yelp is terrible.
Yeah.
Yelp's the worst.
Yep.
So,
I think you have the ability to reply on Yelp. You have the ability to reply on Google. They've been kind of turning it on and turning it off, the ability to respond to reviews. Angie's List, you can respond. So in the places you can respond, you want to respond. And not always just a response. Sometimes they have a legitimate concern. So you want to be aware of that negative review and have somebody in your company follow up. Hey, we just wanted to reach out and figure out what went wrong. How can we make this right? And what we've seen, 1-star reviews get switched to a 5-star review, but not in every case.
you have to call the customer and ask them what's wrong with the rewrite.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, sometimes they don't know the whole online and everyone else is seeing it. We've had that occur a couple times, but then other times they don't, and then when the kid reply, the night time right down, service connect, but there's no air conditioning, was there an hour and 15 minutes, change the fuse, the service call was $69. You don't bash the pricing issue, but you put it right what it did and how much it was, and then with common sense, does that was a fair price?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's a common question. It's a common concern. That the best thing to do is make sure you're still requesting reviews, trying to address the negative, and realize that it's going to be more authentic if you do have some relatively negative reviews from time to time. And so if you do those things, we claim the Google Map listing, we optimize it correctly, we make sure we're in all of the major online directories with consistency of our name, address, and phone number, and we put a systematic approach in place for getting online reviews. A lot of cases, that's going to be enough to get you ranked really well in the Google Map listings. And so that's check plus in your favor. You want to rank in that Google Map area. So the next thing I want to talk about from your overall internet marketing strategy and kind of working through our worksheet is, are you leveraging social media? Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn. A lot of times I talk with plumbing and HVAC companies and they say, yeah, I understand there's a lot of people on social media, but how's that going to help me get more calls? How's that going to help me drive more revenue? And the way I like to answer that is, if you just think about your sources of revenue today, what's the number one source of business for you as a company? Is it repeat and referral business for the most part? Absolutely. So that's the lifeblood of any good service company. It's repeat and referral business. So social media, in my mind, is the avenue to help you drive more repeat and referral business. Don't try and think of it as this abstract engine that's going to drive, just brand new people to show up out of the ether. But if you can get your real customers, the people that you served yesterday, last year, 2 years ago, to like you on Facebook and to engage with you, that can help you drive more repeat and referral business. Let me just explain why I say that. The average Facebook user has 135 friends and is checking in between 6 and 9 times per day. So if you can put a process in place to get your real customer to press the like button, by virtue of that like, they're going to expose you to their 135 friends because they're going to see on their feed, oh, they just liked Bob's plumbing service. That must be a pretty cool company. But really, even more important is that they've given you permission to remain top of mind. They're checking in 6 to 9 times per day. Granted, they're not there to find out about your service. They're there to look at pictures of their friends and see what's going on. But every time you post an update, and they're checking in 6 to 9 times per day, they're going to see your company. They're going to see your logo. They're going to be exposed to your brand. And that's really where you have the opportunity to remain top of mind with your customers so that when they need you again, so that when somebody asks about plumbing and HVAC services, they remember you and they use you in that way. Does that make sense? Does that kind of clarify a little bit of what you can do with social?
How often would you say you should post?
I think best, and I used to say you should post 5 days a week. I would say best is to post 3 to 5 times per week. And the reason is if you post too often, and nobody's engaging with your posts, so they don't like it, they don't comment about it. Facebook has an edge algorithm as far as how often they show stuff. Your edge rank drops way down, and even if you're posting every day and you've got 1,000 followers, none of them see it. So you want to make sure that you're selective when you post, kind of mix it up between the morning and the night and the weekends, and try and put things that aren't annoying, right? Annoying is $35 off your next plumbing service every single time. Nobody wants to see that. They're going to disengage with you. But if you're putting a picture of a recent job, better, a picture of one of your guys doing something fun like winning a prize, a picture of the company at a picnic, those kinds of things resonate really well. And then also fun things. People want to see fun things, so pictures of something interesting on a plumbing job, just some examples of what you can do. But you want to be posting consistently, and you want to make sure that you're leveraging that real audience, your real customer base, and not random people in cyberspace. The next is email marketing. Are you leveraging email marketing? And when I say email marketing, I'm not really talking about having an Outlook account with an email. I'm talking about having a place where you're collecting your customers' names and email addresses and remaining on top of mind with them by sending them proactive emails. And one of the best examples of this that I've ever seen was at Daniel Cordova Plumbing. This is a plumbing company out in Southern California that grew his company from zero to over $1 million in about a 3-year span. And he's had a lot of success, and when I had the opportunity to interview him for our podcast, we run the plumbing marketing podcast where I interview successful plumbing business owners. I just lost our signal. He told us that internet was the number one source, but the second source was actually email marketing. And all he was doing is every customer that called in, every customer that did business with them, he was seeking to get their name and their email address, and then he sends an email out once a month that's just a personality-based email newsletter. So not an annoying promotion, but here's what's happening with Daniel Cordova. We just added a second truck. Here's what's happening with our team, that type of thing. And it was able to help him anchor the relationship with his customers. And that's what really helped him accelerate the business and get to that $1 million mark in less than 3 years. I thought that was a pretty cool example of email marketing and how to leverage it. So there's a lot of tools that you can use. There's Constant Contact and MailChimp. Those are probably the most popular. And the simplest thing you do is you just put those emails into one of these systems, and you make sure that you send out a proactive email at least once a month and remain top of mind with that customer base. It costs practically nothing to do this, so the ROI on this activity is exponential. And I like to leverage email in a lot of ways. We know that we want more online reviews, so leveraging email in that same email database, make sure that an email goes out after every service call, again, asking for a review. Leverage email to get engagement on social media, right? We want our real customers to like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter and to join us on Google+. Well, the only way they're going to do that is that they know that those profiles exist. So send some type of email out after the service call saying, hey, by the way, we're active on Facebook. Here's the link, and here's some type of incentive to engage with us on Facebook. And then, of course, send out an email blast at least once a month with some type of personality-based email newsletter. And by personality-based, I'm talking not just your logo and some text, but a picture of the owner, a picture of the team, where it feels like it's coming from someone real that they can connect with, that they're going to remember and call on the next time they need plumbing-related services. So that one is, are you leveraging email marketing? Do you have these tools in place? If you don't, and you've got all of this other stuff going, this is something you should absolutely be doing. Again, it's very low cost, very high reward, very high return. And so at this point, I just want to check in with you guys. I know I'm covering a vast, sea of internet marketing possibilities, but really everything we've talked about to this point was foundational, right? Getting your website set up right, making sure that it's optimized for search, making sure that it's compelling and that you've got a reputation management strategy, and making sure that it's going to convert well when a customer gets to the site. And this is what I like to call the online marketing pyramid. And it goes from SEO organic, which is everything we talked about, social media, to paid directories and pay-per-click. And what I feel the best path is to make sure that you have a strong foundation, right? You have a good website with all of those on-page factors and that it ranks well organically. And when you have that in place, then you've got the opportunity to drive paid marketing in a way that's going to generate a return on investment. But what I find in so many cases with plumbing and HVAC companies is that they have this pyramid inverted. So they've got a major investment in pay-per-click advertising, they've got a major investment in paid online directories like Angie's List and Yelp.com, but they're getting a little return on investment, and they're frustrated. And the reason is their website isn't converting well. They don't have the right authority. They don't have the right online reputation. And so make sure, this is kind of this little stump speech I just gave, make sure that you've got a good foundation before you start doing paid online marketing. And when you do, absolutely go after it and attack it in the right way. And there's all kinds of paid channels that I've found to be very effective. Again, dealing with hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies and interviewing some of the most successful companies in the industry is pay-per-click advertising on both AdWords and Bing search, which gives you Bing and Yahoo. Paid directory listing on Angie's List. I know some of you will try to battle me on this, but in a lot of cases, it's a pretty effective channel. Paid YP.com and paid Yelp.com. In certain markets, YP and Yelp are still pretty effective from an online marketing perspective. And what I'm talking about is actually the paid listings and not the free listing. And when it comes to pay-per-click advertising, most of the contractors I talk with tell me that they've tried pay-per-click and it didn't work and it failed to produce a return on investment. And my answer to that is, it's probably because you didn't go about it in the right way. You didn't go about it in a strategic way. And this is the wrong way to do pay-per-click advertising. Taking all of your keywords, plumber, plumbing, emergency plumber, drain cleaning, water heater installation, having one text ad, if you need a plumber in the Denver market, click here, and then landing it on their homepage, right? Because the homepage is just generic. Hey, we're a plumbing company and we can help you. And Google has a quality score based on how relevant you are versus the keyword that the person typed in. So if they typed in drain cleaning and you've got a text ad that speaks to, hey, you have a clogged drain in the Miami area, we're the drain experts, click here. And then you land them on a page of your site, that's the drain cleaning page that says, hey, have a clogged drain? We're the experts, right? You're really speaking to the search that they typed in, and you've got a strong call to action on that page. You're going to have a better quality score, which means you're going to pay less on a per-click basis, and your conversion rate's going to be higher because that page speaks to their specific search, and it's got a strong, compelling call to action and a reason to take action now. I mean, I'm trying to condense this piece because I could talk for an hour and a half just on pay-per-click advertising, but I want you to get the idea that if done correctly, pay-per-click can be a very scalable channel for driving leads and revenues in your business. And so make sure you have that right. And the question there is, are you taking advantage of paid online marketing? Do you have an AdWords campaign? Do you have ad groups for each of your logical services? Do you have a landing page for each one of those? And if you do, you're going to be able to see a strong return on that investment. And so going back to our example of the plumbing doctor, we talked about how they went from 25 calls to 88 calls. That was all organically based. And after that, we were able to layer on some of these paid online marketing channels, right? Doing Angie's List, doing pay-per-click advertising. And they were able to see their traffic increase after adding the paid component from 712 visitors to over 1,000 visitors, which meant they went from 72 calls to about 213 calls. They average about 230, 240 calls a month via the web. And if we recap, that means in October 2011, they had 24 calls. January 2014, 213 calls. That's a 10-time increase in leads and sales via the web. And that's really what the potential is and the opportunity is if you get this internet marketing strategy right and you really execute this well. Now, the last thing on your sheet is making sure that you have the proper tracking in place. We talked about a lot in this session. We talked about pay-per-click advertising and SEO, but you want to make sure that you track, measure, and quantify. Otherwise, it's real easy to spend a lot of money and not have any idea what's happening and not have any idea what the return is. So the key things to track are analytics. How many people got to the website, and is that number on the rise? Keyword rankings. For your most important keywords, there are tools that will tell you, here's where you're at on Google and Yahoo and Bing. You want to watch that and see if those are moving in the positive direction. If you're building links and you're building authority, it really should. And then the most important in my mind is some type of call tracking done in the right way. Using call swapping so that you have a phone number that's presented to the customer that's only showed for organic search or only showed for paid search, so that you can listen to the recordings and you can really quantify what your return on all of this activity is. and you're spending money and you're spending time, so you want to make sure that you're getting a solid ROI on that investment. And so we've worked through the whole worksheet. I hope you guys took notes. I hope you guys have a clear idea where you need to go back and take some action and where you need to clean things up. I said I was going to share some case studies, so I'll make this as abbreviated as possible. We talked about the plumbing doctor and the results that they've had. One of the companies we work with in Allentown, Pennsylvania is Schuler Services. They're a second-generation company. Greg Joyce purchased the company from his dad 3 years ago, and they were doing about $2 million a year when he took over the business, and he was excited about ratcheting things up and continuing the growth and expansion of the company. And one of the things he recognized as a key element was his online marketing strategy. His dad had built the business in Yellow Pages. He knew he needed to get aggressive with web. And so we really got together and we implemented these strategies for him. And he went from relative obscurity online to the point where he was now the A spot in Allentown for plumber, plumbing, emergency plumber, drain cleaning, and all of his keywords. But what's real cool is that the traffic to his website increased from 400 visitors to over 900 visitors, and he bumped from 42 calls to over 120 calls. But in this case, I actually have some metrics in terms of revenue growth. And what he told me the last time we spoke is his business is up 40% year over year. And so he went from about $2 million to about $2.8 million in a 2-year span. So that's a pretty noticeable increase in revenues. And that's really what's possible if you implement the ideas and strategies that we've covered in this session. And so I wanted to, if we could have Sam talk a little bit. He's one of our customers, Sam from S&D Plumbing.
My name is Sam Dowdy. I'm with S&D Plumbing, and I'm a PHCC member. We like to work with our member associates. One of them is Josh with Plumber SEO. These guys are absolutely fabulous. We have, my wife and I, we have 2 different plumbing companies, and we actually have a porta potty business along the way too. And with the plumbing company, the old original plumbing company, we met with Josh and Plumber SEO, and we talked about somebody doing our advertising. The problem with social media is I don't know social media. I know plumbing. I don't know how to get my word out on all this stupid YouTube and Facebook and all that kind of things, but I still use it because that's where I watch my grandkids grow up and I have fun with my family. So I gotta accept that it's a wonderful thing to use. So when I met Josh, talked to him, found out what kind of people that they are, I realized that these are some people that I trust, and I'm gonna let them see how they can do with our social media. I was really frustrated with Yellow Pages. I was so happy to meet somebody that could make the Yellow Page man go away. I look on Facebook and I have a friend of mine that posted just randomly, he's not even a plumber, he just randomly posted a picture of a phone book in his driveway and complained and ranted about why people are still doing that. So we chose Josh with Plumber SEO to take care of our social media, all of our advertising. We completely cut everything off the Yellow Pages, I think 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and we decided to figure out how to get into the game of internet advertising. So we've given our first plumbing company to them. They did great. Our commercial plumbing company, we recently moved over with Josh with Plumber SEO. Those guys are doing great with them. Entertainingly, I'll say that we gave Josh a challenge and we said, hey man, can you handle, you're doing so good at plumbing advertising, you think you could take care of a porta potty business also? His response was, I don't have any idea what a porta potty business does. I said, well, I do, so we'll figure it out if you'll advertise for me. So we have all 3 of our businesses attached with Plumber SEO, and it has been an absolute fantastic relationship. What we do is we have our employees, especially the porta potty guys, they'll take a picture of a porta potty at a certain location, maybe it's at a park or some cancer event or something like that, and they'll just ship it back to the office. Then me or one of my staff will email it to the guys at Plumber SEO, and they'll put it out on social media, and it does what it does. And honestly, my wife told me this morning, she said we have no way of keeping up with the request of the porta potties. We have to buy more. So that is really a problem, a good problem to have, but we're having to spend more money than we really want to with that. So our plumbing company is the same way. We now have Navy veterans working for us, and these Navy veterans, one of them in particular loves to pose and put his muscles out for the camera, and And we'll have fun with our guys. They'll take pictures of their finished products, and they'll ship with their jobs. They'll ship the pictures of the jobs and the reports, and then we'll just ship them out to Plumber SEO, and then the next thing you know, they're using for advertising. So that relationship has been very, very, very successful for us and our family. So we're doing every bit of our business with them. It's been great. I would recommend it to you guys. In this room, in this association now, the guys I've been with, we're all about the same age, and our problem is we just don't know social media. So I'd recommend everybody just trust him. They're great people. If they have a problem, come see me, and I'll go see Josh. And we'll have a conversation, and because I believe in working with people and giving them a chance to show what they're worth. And if they do a good job, support them, stay with them. It works great for us.
So I hope this was valuable and insightful for you guys. If you'd like some help with this, right, ideally you've worked through this sheet, you've identified some areas for improvement. This is what we do as a company. We can handle all this on your behalf and help you get your internet marketing right. Really where we would want to start, this is our team in South Florida, would be to help you develop your keyword list and figure out where you're at today, right? Are you knocking it out of the park, or is there room for improvement? And then I personally will do this with you. I'll look at your website, I'll look at your online rankings, and I'll help you figure out where there's room for improvement and what we can do to help you increase your sales. So if you'd like to talk with me about that, I'll be here in the back. Come back and see me, and we'll get you set up to do a strategy session and really look at your online marketing initiatives. But I hope you guys got value from this. I hope you're able to go back and implement these strategies. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.